Here's a new one for you. There's a sun circle that's been found along the Silk Road, the ancient Silk Road, way up in eastern China. And it's 3,000 years old. It's an earthwork confirmed as the sun worship altar on China's Silk Road. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of a 3,000-year-old altar to the sun in northwest China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. Experts say that the altar resembles the heaven-worshipping altars of the dynasties that once ruled China's Central Plains. Unearthing the Bronze Age altar discovered in China's far northwest, the ruins show a strong cultural connection existing between the region's east and west even before the Silk Road. This is the primordial Silk Road. The 3,000-year-old altar dedicated to sun worship was initially discovered in 1993, but organized archaeological excavations would only launch 23 years later in 2016. The excavations have now revealed that the structure has notable similarities to the heaven-worshipping altars previously only seen much further west on the Eurasian plains. And things that correlate to this also work with Stonehenge. It's just drawn to another level. The excavations have now revealed that the structure has notable similarities to the heaven-worshipping altars previously only known. The altar sits along the path of the Silk Road, an ancient network of trade routes that connected Asia and Europe. And you can see it here. Let's see if we can get a vid go off of it. Nine, denied. Oh, check it out. Well, we've seen those circles so many times over and over again. I didn't pause this, it apparently just paused on its own. Three circles, like Atlantis. You can also see that it's bisected here at this point, at this point, at this point, and at this point. It has a 4 cardinal point selection also done onto it. Kinda neat. But all across the central plains of China also, huh? I think that shows us something. Too bad the vid won't play. Try this again. Wow. Pretty well defined. You can also see a lot of trails leading into it and away from it that were there in old times. Kind of like a Stonehenge. And you can see there it's got a 4 cardinal point situation coming off of it too. North, south, east, west, although we're kicked on an angle, not necessarily going north, south here. Hit towards the center. Across the central plains of China, huh? Amazing. So, as reported on a previous Ancient Origins article, the Silk Road extended from China to the Mediterranean, acting as a trade route for goods including silk and spices, as well as cultures, beliefs, and ideas. Determining the exact geographic scope of the Silk Road has always been a challenge for historians, and indeed, everybody's always agreed that it only happened after, Alexander the Great opened it up and Marco Polo and so on. But we can find silk threads that are on pharaohs that date, was it 700 to 800 years before the point of Marco Polo? So that doesn't necessarily ring true with what reality might actually be. Here's an elder map that shows these trade guys going along this ancient trade route, and it gives you a hint to what these yellow brick roads are that they show in these maps, that you have to follow the yellow brick road that you see in some of the other elder maps too, and I've questioned in a few places and kind of gave hints to it and so on. You can see this is an ancient Tartarian map here from the 1380s, and down here you can see these what appear to be castlettes that they're showing that they're all along this Silk Road of people from this time, ancient horsemen, and they're drawn pretty well. You can tell they're all pale Caucasians, different colors of hair from brown to black to brown, and horses with different colors on them and things. It's pretty nice. Camels up here, and you can tell the camels are packing things. You can also tell they didn't draw the camels too well. These camels have real hairy necks on them, and they're gray. I don't know. It's just a little odd, I guess you'd say. Maybe they really use elephants and they didn't know that you're gray, but I don't know. No, there's just an oddity there, I guess you'd say. But these guys appear to be just walking right up the butts of those guys, though, there too. It almost looks squinched in there. Anyhow, it was established during the Han Dynasty of China between the 2nd century BC and the 14th century AD. Zhang Quan of the Western Han Dynasty created the initial route, and additional routes were added over time through the Han Dynasty. The Silk Road reached its peak during the Tang Dynasty as society and the economy flourished, but its decline came during the Yuan Dynasty. Now, I think we find that it goes back much earlier than that. And instead of it being an entire route, if you will, all the way to the Mediterranean people were trading with some of the Scythians, and the Scythians were trading amongst themselves, cascading all the way across and getting to the Silk Road at one time. So in one way, shape, or form, the Silk Road goes back to a lot before we're willing to give credit for at this point. So you might call it a Proto Silk Road or something. Hey, maybe that'll be the name of the video. According to UNESCO, the Silk Road linked China with the Roman Empire, allowing trade goods between the ancient cultures of China, India, Persia, Arabia, Greece, and Rome. However, and of course by proxy, I'm guessing North Africa, Phoenicians, and Egypt even. But and then by proxy, probably all the way into Europe. However, more than goods were moved and traded along the Silk Road. It was utilized by various peoples and cultures, and as they traveled along the Silk Road to trade goods, they were also sharing knowledge, meeting each other, sharing ideas, cultures, and beliefs. These exchanges along the Silk Road have been credited with enhancing science, arts, literature, crafts, and technologies among ancient civilizations. But they don't mention religion. But I'm telling you that it really has an attachment to this symbology and sacred things and all kinds of stuff that are passed from way back when to a common people coming back together and zigzagging through each other. Essentially, as they traveled and traded, each culture was unknowingly impacting and molding the other cultures within which it came under contact with. Just like finding some primitive island that nobody else is on and you being the first one to contact them, and more contacts bring more and more things. At first it might start some cargo cult that if you left them alone would end up being some weird odd religion, but more and more contact makes it an entirely different issue. If you look here, I've shown this in one of my recent videos here, but this blue-eyed red-headed guy on the left is known as a priest who is actually teaching sacred symbolism to the Asians here on a relief of Buddha, saying that this is supposed to be Gautama Buddha himself. Blue-eyed Central Asian monk teaching an Eastern Asian monk. While the Silk Road is well known, and that's from Tarim Basin area, and I've showed you a lot of the Terran Basin area, and then the pyramids that are there, which might show a lot more connections that people are willing to go with. In fact, I'm certain a lot of people aren't willing to go with. While Silk Road is a well-known name for the trade route today, it's not a name that was used by those who traveled and traded on those routes. In 1877, a German geographer, Ferdinand von Richthofen, named the trade route the Silk Road because silk was the main good that was traded along it, or actually it was the coolest thing that was different that people didn't have back and forth. We like silk. A lot of people liked it back then, and so that's where it really only came from. The altar's cultural significance. Despite being more than 3,000 years old, the main structure of the Bronze Age altar is in remarkable condition. The altar is constructed from circular layers of cobbles and mud, and it has 3 different stone layers. Experts agree that the find is important from an archaeological point of view because it clearly shows a strong cultural link between nomadic regions and the ancient Chinese ruling dynasties. So here we go with Proto-Indo Europeans and Chinese contact way before, and the wall and things we talk about. There's a story up here I'll probably read. I probably won't do a video on it though. 100 merchants retraced Silk Road route in a camelback on an epic year-long journey. So it shows you how long these people actually would take to go and come back. These merchants, you know, and sailors gone at sea for a year or 2 at a time, coming back, doing these things and stuff, which can be echoed a lot in our men going into service nowadays. That overhead view, though, incredible. Yeah, incredible layout right there, yeah. This proves that the Central Plain culture had already long reached the foot of Mount Tian Shan in the Bayan Bulak grassland, the choke point of the Silk Road. And you know, if they've got a thing right there, it's not like, well, we went here, but we don't go 5 foot farther, or what's over that hill. They never did that. And what's over that hill after that one? Or hey, go on down this valley, follow that river for a minute. Right. This was said by Lou Cumming, one of the archaeologists studying the ruins, in a CCTV video, and then I added on to it. Archaeologist Wu Zhanghua also commented, since ancient times, all civilizations on the continent of Eurasia use circle shapes to represent the sun. Mongolian yurts have the same structure as the altar, pointing out that sun worship was a common practice among many cultures that existed during that period. There's also circular structures all the way across and through Europe and so on, but you start to come up with squared and numbered and cut off things that go off circles. But then again, you divide circles, you make triangles, you'd cut a square in half long ways, and you have 2 triangles, and so on. And it's this partitioning situation that a lot of people see in the burgeoning of math and the Sumerians and stuff also, but probably shared between all of these people at that time. For all you really had to do was just follow the river up Tigris and Euphrates, and you come up into Anatolia area. And at that time, the river ran down into Jordan a little bit more than it did, and many cultures around that, and we can see that to this day. So, ooh, look at that. Just pulls right into that harbor, too. Huh. Is that a real picture? Because that's, man, you've got to be close to hitting the bottom there. Cruise deals. So here's another video here. It says, archaeologists will continue excavating the sun altar in Xinjiang to discover more valuable information about the rich history of the cultures that were located along the ancient Silk Road. And since we already know there's a bunch of Caucasians there in the Terran Basin and all that, they shouldn't have too much trouble with it. Maybe it'll help make connections finally with the Chinese people. Let's see. But, you know, to people like India and stuff, quite often it's an embarrassment for the Aryans to have met them in ancient times, and the Proto-Indo Europeans. And so it's wondered how they would look at this and stuff, you know. Let's continue. See if this will actually show you the vid. Another view of it, but this is from the Chinese government. Flew a drone around on it, coming up and over it. There's quite a tall mound to it too, and I'm pretty certain there might be some sacred burials along with this. The crescent. And I cannot read Mandarin or whatever that's written in.
自古以来，整个亚欧大陆所有的文明区域原型都在
There's a round yurt.
这样的蒙古包呢，刚好和我们的这个祭坛的形态完全一致。内蒙的蒙古包是2重圆，然后加一个十字，甚至十字之间呢还有放射线。咱们鄂尔沱特的蒙古包1重圆加一个十字，是由3个枝条组成的十字。这样的十字反映出来的实际上是早期的天崇拜、光崇拜、太阳崇拜。
Music's so loud you probably can't make it out from there. Look at that stonework penetrates through the ground still. And it's kind of neat. There's got to be something more to it than that. And the mound, see how it's mounded up and there's a tail situation? Long, prolonged contact. Anyhow, guys, that was a little piercing there. Let's go up here and take one last shot at it here. And the symbolism that's here. Wish I knew exactly where north, south, east, west was on here, but I'm willing to tell you it's probably these axes, or that axes are equinoxal. So it has something to do with one of those two, but as I say, it also hooks up to sun worship, so it probably does aim to the east, or the main threshold leads to the east. Anyhow, as more comes out about this, we'll bring more to you. Like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy. Peace.